Hey there, you're listening to Yakkin with Nick. I am Nick Hazelton, your host, so let's just yak. Yes, I am off my schedule again this week. I mismanaged my time. There's no excuse about it. I apologize, and I will try to make it up next week. This episode will be a little bit about why I'm not able to do content very well. We'll talk about that, but I just wanted to say I apologize, and I will try to make it up next week by getting another episode out. Technically, I will post 2 episodes this week, not on schedule, but I will post one in the Patreon only section because I have something that I don't want to put out on the public feed. So if you'd like to listen to that, you'll have to go to patreon.com/justyakin and pledge $1 or more. That's patreon.com/JUSTYAKKIN. It will also send you that show file if you give me, $2 in Bitcoin. And you'll have to contact me, yakkinwithnick@gmail.com for that. But, anyway. Yeah, it's such bad marketing because I won't tell you what it is because I don't want to. And I won't get into it. But I wanted to share that will happen because maybe I'll get somebody to donate. Anyway, with that, let's get into what I want to talk about today, which is I don't know. I like to talk about myself, if you haven't noticed, and the struggles that I'm dealing with, because partly it's helpful for me to talk about these struggles that I'm having, these issues that I have in my life. And it's also, I think, I also think it might be valuable content because I think I'm in a unique situation. I'm a young kid working on some interesting projects and trying to develop myself. I'm trying to become the person I want to be. And, however you want to call that. Like, I want to be a man. That might be how I would say it. That's not very sensitive to, I don't know, political correctness, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to make excuses. I don't care. That's the way I say it, right? I want to become an adult. I want to become a man. And I don't need to get into it. I don't need to, who cares about this gender bullshit? A lot of people do. I do too. I think it's an important issue. Don't mean to throw it out the window, but it's frustrating right now because I don't want to describe it. So I'm not going to. You get what I mean. And if you can't, then okay, don't listen. Wow, you just alienated none of your audience probably. Anyway, so I like talking about these issues because I think they're interesting. I'm trying to become an adult, become a self-sustained person. I want to be able to be, I don't know, how do I describe this? I guess I'm trying to build a certain lifestyle for myself, and it involves some things that very many other people are trying to do. And I think being a young person and being so in touch with this process, I'm trying to figure out the very basics of it. I'm looking at human psychology at a very deep level. That's where a lot of my research is spent doing right now, because I'm not so much focused on philosophy. I'm not so much focused on farming. I'm really focused on personal development, actually. And I mean, really focused, that's a relative term, obviously. I'm interested in a lot of things, and of course farming and philosophy is part of that, but most of what I do is definitely in trying to figure out the human psyche, and figuring out what's the best life I can live, because I think that it's important to know how our mind works and what we're capable of, to be able to figure out what tools I have in my tool belt, or what I could have in my tool belt, to make myself a better person, to get to where I want to be as a person. Does that make sense? And I think that I have some valuable ideas on that. And I think that there aren't very many people showing the process of becoming somebody who I want to be. And I think that what I'm trying to do, this person I'm trying to become, is very similar to what other people want. Because and I think this because when I look at other people, like these people, sorry, I'm bad at talking today. Because I don't know. I guess it's very hard. I'm trying to figure out how to describe what I'm trying to say. What this goal of mine is. I want to be a great person in the sense that having accomplishment, having a high self-esteem. I guess I could riddle off these core needs thing that Philip Frey taught me. But maybe I don't need to go into that, and I want to talk more about what I really want to talk about. This is just kind of a preface to say that I think it's interesting to talk about. So I want to talk about a struggle that I'm having today, because maybe it'll be helpful for you dealing with a similar issue. So today I want to talk about focus. I feel like I have a lot on my plate. Some people will tell you that I'm lazy. It's probably true. But I definitely have a lot of things going on. Maybe a lot more than other people. I don't know. A lot of people seem to have a lot of things going on in their lives. We're all a bit stressed out, I think. But I have a lot of things going on. I'm farming. I have a podcast. I'm got a few projects that I'm working on otherwise, but the farming, the podcast, having a social life, trying to keep up with my family, obligations, familial obligations, I guess. I have to do the dishes every night. I have to do certain things around the house because I live here, right? I owe it. It makes sense. These are things I have to do and things I'm pursuing. Does that make sense? All these different things. I'm trying to develop myself into a human being, right? I'm trying to do all this stuff. And I'm finding that every once in a while I get either burnt out or I get stuck with this feeling like I'm not doing enough. There's not enough things getting done. Like I'm slowly losing, I don't know about losing progress, but I'm losing momentum, if that makes sense. That the tasks that I need to be done are racking up more than I'm able to complete them, if that makes sense. And I think a large part of this may be because I'm not very focused on a specific project. And I got this idea from Philip Frey, a good friend of mine. He's a coach of mine. He does we do coaching, he's my coach. Philip Frey of Valiant Growth. If you're interested in a life coach, I highly recommend him. He's been very helpful for me. But I wonder, and he kind of brought this up to me, is maybe I'm not having enough focus because I'm trying to do these things, and these things they take up a decent amount of my time. It can take me like an hour to put out a show now, and that while there's 24 hours in a day, 9 hours I spend sleeping, so I still have 14 left. I don't know. I don't want to make that argument that gets too deep into math that I can't do. I dropped out of school, guys. So I think that it takes some attention, right? I'm trying to think about how can I get content, and then I get frustrated that I don't have content, so I kind of get some anxiety and that's some stress. That takes away from me being able to focus on the farm because I'm trying to think about what am I going to release today instead of how am I going to fix this chicken coop, or how am I going to move these pigs, or when am I going to breed these pigs, when am I going to take the yaks to slaughter, all these things. So things are getting behind me, and while I'm much better than I was a year ago, much better than I was 3 months ago, I still need to improve, and there's still improvements I need to make. So a conclusion of mine is that I need to find a way to better my focus. I either need to increase my focus, or increase my ability to be able to only focus on a certain task, or I need to get rid of things. And I think that the easiest way to do that is to stop doing stuff. Just cut things out again. I did this when I stopped doing Anyak. And it worked all right, but I think I needed some other tools to really help me. I think I have some better tools that will be able to help, and right now I just need to focus on them. I could get into those tools, but I think that would take away from what I want to say today. But I hope that makes sense. So I'm considering it. I don't know if this is exactly what I want to do yet. I'd like some more input. I'd love to hear your input. It'd be very interesting. Obviously, you don't know my situation very well. I can express that in this podcast. I don't want to do that. I have some people that I can rely on. I have Philip Frey, who's a great coach of mine, like I said. I have a mastermind group that I will throw this at this next week, or I guess the coming weekend. It's an issue I'll try to figure out. But I wanted to bring this up, I forgot, for another reason, is because it might mean that I'm going to cut the podcast for now. And I discussed this with Philip Frey, how I can do this, because I guess maybe I should talk about the tools that I have. Because I guess what's really going on here is I'm trying to live a certain lifestyle, right? And I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to make money so that I can do these things, right? And pursue this certain lifestyle. And podcasting and farming are a big part of it. I'd like to have an impact on the world. I'd like to be able to express what I feel and my thoughts and my opinions, because I think I have valuable things to say. I'd love to have an audience to talk to. And the podcast does that for me. But what I've been talking about with Philip is kind of living a seasonal lifestyle. And I think I've talked about this before, maybe on Anyak, maybe earlier on this podcast, Yakkin with Nick. You know what this is if you're listening, I guess. But the idea would kind of be work on certain things during the summer, have it be very heavily involved towards the market, the farm, right? Because that's the farming season. Work on that then spend the winter and fall and early spring maybe on doing other things. Obviously the farm needs some certain upkeep, but if I could design my lifestyle where I'm making pretty much all of my money in the summer months so I can live on for the rest of the year, and then I'm able to do things other than something I can take away. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to frame this in the way of focus, right? So I focus on making money during the summer. There's 3 months, so I can go hardcore at it and make enough money for myself to live for the rest of the year, so that I can spend the rest of my year focusing on other things. So I'm not always panicking for money. I'm not always panicking for content, right? I have the times where I'm doing that, and I can have breaks from them, which would be fantastic, right? For me. So I'm thinking about doing that. As we're coming into summer, I'm thinking about taking a break from producing content altogether, because partly I have ideas for content, but I don't think that they're fully spelled out, and I don't think that they're necessarily in the direction that I want to go with this show. I'd like to do more about farming and what I'm doing rather than this, right? Talking about my issues and explaining how I'm going to solve them, which I think is interesting, but it's not where I want to go with the show. So I'm hoping that I can do that, and we'll see how it goes. But I told you I made a commitment 3 months, and at the end of May here, this will be the week after next, maybe. It may be that I stop, and that's not why I'm having issues producing content right now. The issues why the reason why I'm having issues. Or I guess the issues that I'm having in releasing content are that I'm not really able to focus enough on producing content. That I don't have what I feel is valuable, interesting content, at least like I said in the terms of where I want to go with this show. And I'm mismanaging my time. Those would be the main issues. So, yeah, like I said, I think I'd like to try and figure out how to do that. I guess that's all I really want to say about that. But since it's only 13 minutes long, and I don't know if I really delivered you something valuable, I want to keep talking, because I want to frame this in a way of planning, a lifestyle planning, right? So what I did to kind of figure this out with Philip, at least I figured out I had this issue, and I don't know, I kind of coming with the solution. This is how I would do it, I guess. This is how I'm saying I'm going to find a solution. So what I have done with Philip is I've looked at what we call core needs. These are fundamental, basic desires and values that all human beings have. And Philip and I came up with maybe a shorthand. This is kind of an idea based on nonviolent communication, NBC, and that the needs-based approach is heavily comes from there, I believe, where that's what they mean. These are fundamental human desires and values that we all need to have a balanced, healthy, emotional health, I guess. But so I look at those. I look at these 6 core needs, which would be like autonomy or freedom, security. I forget what they are. Let me pull them up while I talk, but obviously freedom or autonomy, it's being able damn it, I feel like I'm just not able to talk today. Being able to do what you want to do And that's a big one as a libertarian. It may not be everybody. Well, actually, yes, I would say that pretty much everybody desires freedom, being able to do things that you choose. Like, you want to have control over your time. That's kind of the idea, autonomy, freedom. Another one that I'm looking for specifically is simplicity. I want to have time where I can think, where I'm not having a lot of input thrown at me. That makes sense. Like, not a lot of screen time, not a lot of people. Yeah, just quiet is what I like. I'd like companionship, right? Like, everybody has this kind of need. Where we need friends, we need people in our lives, romantic relationships, family relationships, friend relationships, all of these things. That fits into the companionship need. I want to have, I have a need for reputation, to be known as, I guess I'd like to be known for the valuable work that I do, and as somebody who is helpful. This is the reputation I'm looking for. I have a need for impact, so that I can have the ability to help others, to affect other people with the valuable work that I believe I do. Self-esteem, which would be, I guess, I want to feel good about what I'm doing. I want to be living in accordance with what's real, the world around me. I don't want to be tricking or lying to myself. And I'd like to be happy with where I'm at in life. I guess self-esteem, that's a hard idea to communicate, but I go off of kind of the 6 pillars of self-esteem by Nathaniel Branden. That kind of self-esteem, if that makes sense. If you don't know what that is, I apologize. There's a great School Sucks series on the 6 pillars of self-esteem. Safety would be the next one. I want financial safety, something that makes sure if I get hurt, that I can pay for it. If something crazy happens, like I get sued, I'd like to be able to pay for it. Pretty hard to do that, maybe as a farmer. We'll see. But I'd like to have at least some security in that sense. Financial security, obviously, food security is a big thing for me. This is kind of part of why I like to farm. I want to be self-sufficient because I don't really trust the economy. And that's a big part of that. So that's kind of where my self-sufficiency and being prepared and wanting to make money and grow more food would be. That's where that kind of comes from. And then I'd like to have rich experiences. I have a need for that. Rich experience would be things that are interesting. These are, I don't know, how else do I describe it? You kind of get the idea maybe. But these are experiences that we remember and then we think about, like you travel to Europe. That's a rich experience. You go on a hike with friends. It's a rich experience. Playing board games. It can range from anything. You go to a concert to meeting the King of England or the Queen of England, whatever it is. That's what I mean by that. So I set that up with Phil. We kind of looked at that. We just had a discussion over, well, what are these basic things that I'm looking for? And then having that, then I figure out, how do I get them? So I build this lifestyle around, how do I meet these needs? And that's what I've done. I have this farming lifestyle with podcasting, right? I have my being an entrepreneur. I have been able to control my time. That's that freedom thing. Being a farmer and being able to be self-sufficient, spending my time in the woods and on the farm. That's my simplicity need. Making money off yaks, raising an animal that will bring me in a lot of dough. That's my security need coming in. Having rich experiences. I mean, doing crazy stuff, whatever I want to do. I don't know. I want to travel. I want to go to Himalayas, right? I want to do these sort of things, and I want to have companionship. I want to have a romantic relationship someday, and I want to have fun with friends. So you see where all these things come in, and you want to build a lifestyle around that. At least that's what I'm doing. This is a way you could do it too, is what I'm saying. Now I'm trying to figure out, how do I make that lifestyle work? How do I get to that lifestyle? And that's where it gets hard and crunchy. I don't know why I said that. Crunchy came to my mind. I'm like, say it. But you get what I mean? That's where it's getting difficult. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. How do I get to this lifestyle? And part of it is I need to be financially sustainable. That's where I feel like I need to jump in first, because I'm an adult now. I'm 18 years old. I don't want to rely on my parents anymore. And I kind of gave myself a certain amount of time, and honestly, I haven't done it. I thought I would be making more money by now, but things didn't go the way I thought they would. And so I'm trying to figure out, what went wrong? Why did I not meet my expectations? I guess I'm not, technically not have failed on that goal yet of being sustainable by the end of the summer, right? That was the idea. But trying to make that work is very difficult. And yeah, the main thing is trying to make money. And I feel like I'm just not focused enough, because when I sit down to make my schedule, I'm thinking about, well, I want to make money, but I have the confliction in my head. Like, I know what I have to do to make money. I got to go clear ivy for my mom. I got to go work for the neighbor. I got to sell yak meat. I got to sell pork. I got to sell mushrooms. What are these things? I can do that, but I'm finding that other things are getting in the way of that. Part of it is the podcast. It's not really that much, but I think it would help if I cut it, because it is a decent amount of time and it takes a lot of attention, really. I spend a lot of time thinking about it. And I don't think I want to do that. Other things like friends doing certain things, right? I could be more responsible with that. My activities outside, right? I'm finding that I'm wanting to have a lot of rich experience, but that kind of conflicts with the need to make money. So I'm trying to figure out that balance. I haven't struck it yet. And that's where I'm kind of at, is trying to figure out where that is. And right now, I think that the issue of focus is interesting, and I'm thinking that may be it. The way I'm going about this is kind of loosely going off of what people say from the research I do and the people I talk to. And then part of it is just trial and error. It's just trying shit, see if it works. And I've had some success doing that, and I've developed some good habits, and I'm much better and much closer to the goals that I'm looking for than I have ever been. And it's great, but there's always that nagging. I'm not there yet. So yeah, that's what I have to tell you guys today. And I guess some things that maybe if you're somebody trying to do similar things as I am, some things I would keep in mind is, maybe you're not making the amount of progress that you want, but that's okay, especially if you've just started. I mean, I don't know. What I'm telling myself is I'm in the similar place as a lot of these great people that I look up to, like a Joe Rogan or a Kendrick Lamar. I've been very interested in looking at rappers recently, actually, and particularly Kendrick Lamar, but 50 Cent was another one I listened to some interviews about. But I'm a very huge fan of Kendrick Lamar. I think he's a very interesting human being, because he's a very talented artist and he's a very talented businessman. This is what these rappers are. Yes, they're fantastic artists, but there are so many great rappers out there. I don't know if you can beat Kendrick Lamar. The artists on Top Dog Entertainment are the top dogs of entertainment. Sorry, that was dumb. But I look at these guys and I think, well, how did they do what they want to do? And I listen to their older music when you can tell they're struggling. Like, that's what's in their music is, he's trying to figure it out. How do I become this person I want to be? So I listen to these guys and I'm like, okay, I'm on the similar track that they are. And that's something that I try to keep in mind is I may not be where I exactly want to be, but looking at other successful people, am I keeping in line with them? And am I doing similar things that they are? And that can kind of give you an idea if you're moving on the right direction. And I don't know if that's really a good thing to base off of your life off of, if it's a rapper, but you understand that struggle to make it as a hip hop artist is pretty hard. I think it's harder than being a yak farmer. I'm going to take a leap and say that. There are probably more rich rappers than there are rich yak farmers, but in percentage, I think they're much less. I don't know. Does that make sense? If what I'm saying, without communicating the whole thing. Fuck. I should have just explained it. I'm sorry. I should have kept going instead of asking. That makes sense. Damn it. Now I don't know how to go back. I'm sorry, guys. This is Yakkin with Nick. What did you expect? But so I guess that's where I'm looking at these great people, because these are the most accomplished people in the world. These great people who have made a lot of money on their own, who have that rags to riches story, that a lot of rappers do, including Kendrick Lamar, Eminem. Paying attention to those people, I think, is important because they're trying to do crazy things that other people aren't trying to do. So am I. So how can I find the similarities in our situations? Me, the yak farmer, Kendrick Lamar, the rapper, Joe Rogan, the comedian and UFC commentator. How do I compare to them and where I'm at? And if you look at it, most people don't have their shit together at all, like until way past their 20s. You're in college up until like 28 years of your life. That's a long time to get started, right? That's part of the learning experience. And I think if you're in anywhere in that, dude, don't be worried at all. If you're out of that range, maybe you should be worried a little bit about the progress you're making. But I think it's important to remember not to beat up on yourself. That's something I can do, everybody can do, and it's hard, especially if you're going at this alone. If you're trying to do this all by yourself, I highly recommend having a partner or a coach, a mastermind group at least, to help you out with these things so that they can kind of keep you in a realistic mindset, if that makes sense. A mindset that you're not a bad person and that you're doing the best you can, because you are. I'm sure you are. Life is difficult. Doing these things is difficult, and it's going to beat us down every once in a while. But the only thing we can do is keep going, right? Because if you want to give up, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. I feel like I'm struggling, but I'm figuring it out, guys, and I feel like I'm getting closer and closer every day. So with that, I really appreciate you listening to these half-baked thoughts, and really just not very concise or meaningful presentations. Maybe I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't know. I hope this is useful for you. With that, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. That's all I want to say. If you'd like to help out Yakkin with Nick and myself, going to patreon.com/JUSTYAKKIN, patreon.com/JustYakkin. The link is in the show notes. Would be absolutely awesome. Pledging $1 really helps. I believe, I was going to say I believe, but I know what it is. I know what it costs to run this podcast. It cost me $20 a month to host this podcast on Libsyn. And so far, I'm making $13 off the podcast every month. So we're pretty close. We're really close to getting it offset. And even just that is awesome. The fact that I have any bit of that being paid is so helpful. I just dropped my mouse. Sorry, guys. It's super helpful. It's really helpful. And I really appreciate it. So thank you. Excuse me. Thank you to the patrons over at patreon.com/JUSTYAKKIM. And as I said earlier, there will be a Patreon-only episode coming out today or the next day or the next day. Maybe, probably not the next day. But check it out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode. It'd be awesome if you hopped in my feedback group on Facebook. It's the Yakkin with Nick feedback group. If you look that up on Facebook, you'll find it. Join it. I'd really love to hear from you, and I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about Yakkin with Nick? What do you want to hear from me in the future? And all of those things. And I just want to be clear: if I stop doing the podcast, I will drop. I will change the you can change between content piece and by month. No, I probably won't do that. I'll probably just say just cancel your patronage if I do quit. But I just want you to know that I haven't made that decision yet. But I wanted to know that I'm thinking about that. I asked for patrons, and as I make a show where I'm saying, hey, I might stop podcasting again. And I just wanted to make that clear that I will make sure that I contact each of my patrons to make sure that you're not paying money to a non-active feed. But I wanted to say this too, is it's not a permanent end. It would just be for the summer, and I would come back, and I would probably get sick of not posting content. That I would probably post content. Maybe if it's just once a month. So with that, guys, that's it. Thank you again for listening. I hope you have a very wonderful day.